We are down here at the quarry at Giants Ridge, sitting out in front of beautiful Lake Mine with Johnny Anzelcs. And Johnny Anzelcs is the longest serving employee here at Giants Ridge. And we thought we would sit down with him a few minutes and get some of his historical perspective on Giants Ridge. And Johnny, when did you first become involved in Giants Ridge? Maybe not what Giants Ridge is today, but back in the 50s, I think?
59 in that area. Yes, I got involved with it. I bowled on a team that Ed Carcasco was part of the team. And they needed some help. And myself and Mike Smith of Smith Oil, who had the bowling team, decided to help them out, and they were working very hard trying to complete what they had in mind. So,
and when you say they, you mean the original, we today refer as the Giants Ridge founders.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that, who were the founders? Were they a group of families in the area?
They came to work on the mine. Basically, they worked on the mine. Some of them were school teachers, etc., etc. It was people that came from other areas that were into the skiing business.
Okay.
Dwayne Ramford, who was a school teacher, came out of Duluth, and he was acquainted with skiing in Duluth area. Ed Carcasco went to Michigan Tech, and they were skiing there, and they wanted to find a place where they could develop skiing in northeastern Minnesota.
And so did you provide some of the financial support and backing that they needed to start the original ski area?
After a while, I did contribute some financial, and so did Mike Smith and a lot of other people.
Okay.
And they could use that money. I mean, always they were short of money.
And you were the treasurer, is that correct?
Treasurer. And I will have to say something just a little bit of off color, that for the simple reason that we had some outstanding bills, and I used to lie to the board.
Oh, you did?
Tell them we didn't have it.
Okay.
And then
to try to make ends meet.
Ends meet, and,
yeah.
But we always had some money to keep us going.
And so you kept it going. But then some hard economic times fell, right? Was that in the 80s?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then were you in the 80s then? The ski hill was really struggling, is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
And then the IRRB stepped in to buy it. Were you excited about that decision?
Right. I think the finances were out there then to complete what they did. They built a new chalet. They built a sports dorm, and were able to buy lift equipment and so on. Equipment to be able to run a decent ski hill. And I think it's a fantastic ski hill.
And then, well, let me back up just a minute. When we started talking, I said we're sitting out here, what we refer to now as Lake Mine, this beautiful lake out here. But you actually, before this was filled with water, you actually worked this mine.
Yes, I worked in the engineering department. And in fact, there was a lot of local people working in this mine. In fact, my father worked in the mine as a driller.
Oh, he did? Okay.
And the reason Ed Carcasco was up here, he got into the mining business. He had a degree from Michigan Tech. So they were the ones that really started the thing up. They were looking for a place where there could develop a ski hill. They were very wise.
And so this landscape must look quite different out here now. What, 60 years later?
Yes.
Because now we can't see it now, but we just saw a boat go by and they're trout fishing here.
Yes, and the thing is basically about 550 feet deep.
Okay.
We had a water problem here, and across the highway here, Highway 138, is a golf course.
Okay.
And it was developed, it's called a quarry. And at one time, that was where they used to get sand for construction and so on and so forth. So that's why they call it the quarry.
Because it's built on an old sand mine, isn't it? Or a sand quarry, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of history here, especially with the Corey Golf Course.
Absolutely.
And so you were part of the founders, and then you worked here when it was still an operating mine. And then the IRRB, when the times were tough, they stepped up or stepped into the scene and bought the ski area. And then, what was your role then at Giants Ridge? Were you involved in the concessions here when the IRRB bought it, as far as the food and beverage?
Yes, I got with Greg Johnson and Dan D'Onofrio and Rocky D'Onofrio, and they were looking for another investor, and I got into business with them, and we ran it for quite some time. It was up and down, and basically was a lesson for me that running a business is tough.
And so did you do all the food here for the ski area then, before the golf courses were built?
Yes.
Okay. And so that probably went on for a while, and then the construction of the golf courses started.
Yes, the golf courses started, and when they're completed, they brought in people that will run the golf courses.
A management company.
A management company.
Okay.
And they took over, and they did a fine job. They were a start, but eventually they were replaced by Troon, and Troon has been running it ever since, and they do a fine job.
And so you work for Troon Golf?
Yes, I do.
Okay, who is hired by the IRRB to manage the golf courses?
That is correct.
And I know you've probably worn a lot of different hats, even with Troon Golf, but what are some of the things you've done here over the last decade for the Legend and the Corey, and the weddings and the banquets?
Well, basically on the weddings and so on and so forth, I would set certain things up, and then after the thing was all over with, the next Sunday I'd come in and I'd clean the chalet and the bathrooms and not take down the dance floor, etc., etc. So at that time I was much younger, so I was a little bit more aggressive than I am at the present time.
And Johnny, you were born at a mining location right here near Biwabik, is that correct?
Yes, it's part of the city of Biwabik. But there's an odd thing. I went to school in McKinley because that was in the Gilbert School District part of it. And then I went to school in Gilbert, and then in 1938 we moved our home into Biwabik, where it's at right now.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I built a new home there.
And you have also you've been a Biwabik firefighter.
Yes, I was a fire chief. I was the finance man there also, and I was assistant chief. I remember when we got our first ambulance. Now I'm talking too much about myself. But anyhow, Michael Smith was the son of Mike Smith. Every telephone call came in, we had to go in the ambulance.
Okay.
And it's not like it is today. Today there's professionals.
So John, if you started in, what would you say, 1959 would have been your first involvement with Giants Ridge?
It's about that time, yes.
Okay, and you are 89 years old, is that correct?
That is correct.
Or 89 years young?
Well, I think I'm old. So
that is a long time to dedicate service to this facility. And I know, I said you're 89, but I know you've told me this over the years, that what you enjoy the most is seeing the young people out here.
Yes. The young people now, I see the young people with grandma and grandpa, because the father and mother in the family have to work. They have to work to make a living if they don't work in a mine. And
so those grandparents are out here with their grandchildren skiing.
Yes.
And do you have a season that you prefer? Do you prefer the ski season over the golf season, or do you like both equally?
I like both of them. I like both of them. Basically, my job is the same, either the winter or the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, John, we thank you so much for all your years of service to Giants Ridge, and we are all able to work here and support our families because of all that work that was done here early on, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and then the IRRB buying it in the 80s, and what a huge success story.
the original founders had a vision, and their vision will be much better as we continue. Right now, it's a destination point. We
Yes.
get a lot of people out of the area that come up here and ski, and they golf, and they've built homes up here. They buy homes in the communities as a home during the winter and summer. They don't have to stay at a hotel or anything, but it'd be nice if they filled the hotels up here and we could see some more action going on here.
That is a big difference. I forgot about, or didn't bring up all the homes that have been built here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really changed the landscape of the resort as well.
It's a plus. It's a plus.
Well, John, thank you so much. Thank you for all your years of service, and thank you for sharing a little bit of the history of Giants Ridge and your role in it.
It's been my pleasure, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I get up at 5 in the morning, and I don't know who they're going to find to get up 5 in the morning after I'm gone.
Well, hopefully we won't have to worry about that too soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.